so much for coming out tonight. Thank you for coming out tonight. This is insane. I appreciate however far you had to walk from your car to get here. Thank you. At least it's not raining. We're so excited tonight to have Rio Youers with us all the way from Canada. He's the author of the new novel, The Forgotten Girl, which received much coveted starred reviews from both Publishers Weekly and Booklist, which is a big deal. I really liked what Peter Straub had to say about the book and the author. He's one of the most vital, most exciting young talents to come along in this decade. He writes beautiful phrases and sentences, and he has an instinctive feel for horror's flashpoints, those moments in a novel when its author must demonstrate that he can keep his head while his readers are cheerfully losing theirs. Rio's been nominated for the British Fantasy Award, and his short fiction has been published in many notable anthologies. His novel, Westlake Soul, was nominated for Canada's prestigious Sunburst Award. He lives in southwestern Ontario with his family. Rio will be in conversation tonight with fellow horror writer Joe Hill, who needs no introduction to this hometown crowd. So please, please join me in welcoming Rio Youers to Water Street Bookstore.
You read, and I'll sit over here and watch in admiration.
Oh, we're going to read first?
Yeah, you read.
I have to say, first off, that the Peter Straub blurb, as lovely as it is, was actually in reference to another book, and the decade was actually in reference to another decade. I was one of the most vital young talents of the last decade.
Right.
Not this decade.
Still good.
I'm still a vital talent, just not quite so young as I used to be.
Yeah, the quote on the new book, which they didn't use, is Rio Youers is one of the most second-rate and older talents to wander into oblivion. No, I'm sorry. No, that's not actually.
You should have sent me that, Joe. I might use that. That's my blurb. Am I going to read first? Is that the deal?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read a little bit.
The way it'll work is, Rio read. I'll ask him. I'll tease him mercilessly for about 20 minutes, and then you guys can have a turn to drag him over the coals.
All right. Sounds good. So, The Forgotten Girl. It's about a girl who can steal memories. A young woman, I should say. She's 23 years old. She can steal memories. She can take as many or as
Thank you very much.
That's not, no.
Yeah, no.
Can you hear me at the back? Yeah. Jim, can you hear me? Okay. So she can take as many memories or as few as she likes. So she can leave you in a state of dementia, or she could just, make you forget what you did last night, basically. The book's told from the point of view of the protagonist. His name's Harvey Anderson. And later on in the book, Harvey comes across this memoir that he's written in the second person. Which is kind of an unusual way to write a memoir. The second person uses the pronoun you, kind of like you choose your own adventure. And it's when he discovers this memoir that he realizes that these people who are looking for Sally and that he's completely forgotten about were telling the truth, and that he determines then to go out and find Sally and hopefully get to her before these thugs get to her. So I'm actually going to read the first piece from the memoir. This is how he actually met Sally, and he calls them moments. And the reason he writes in the second person is because he wants to attach himself to the memory more than any emotion. And when he's reading back, he kind of feels like he's being appraised by a sort of older, wiser version of himself. And this is the first moment in the book. It's called Baby Blue Schwinn. Cadillac Jack's is on the corner of Columbus and Maine. A shimmering diner that would show up on Google Earth like a uranium spill. It has an over-the-top 50s vibe that you adore. Waitresses wearing poodle skirts and bobby socks swirling between tables. The Wurlitzer is just for show, but the music being pumped through the speakers is pure rock and roll. Danny and the Juniors, Dion and the Belmonts, Bill Haley and his Comets. It's impossible to sit down to your Blueberry Hill pancakes and not feel like you've walked onto the set of Happy Days. You used to go there with Mom every Sunday morning. She'd order the Jimmy Durante fruit cup and the lemon tea. You'd mostly go with the pancakes, but sometimes the Brando omelet or that gooey American cheese was too tempting to resist. Mom knew the words to all those rock and roll classics, and she'd sing along while you ate. Then she'd make a huge fruity grin out of her orange peel and come in for a kiss. Writing this down won't help you remember everything. Time steals as well as it heals. But never forget how much you loved your mom and how much she loved you. You dined there every now and then after Mom died, but it wasn't the same. It felt lonely, even with the bouncy bubblegum vibe. So you found a new breakfast joint at the other end of town, Marzipan's Kitchen. A different dining experience, to say the least. Where Cadillac Jack's has neon and polished chrome, Marzipan's has faux wood paneling and checkered tablecloths. There are pictures on one wall of spooky dudes from the Civil War era, and another wall is decorated floor to ceiling with Beanie Babies, each nailed into place through their little heart tags. It has quirk, like Marzipan herself, a 60-something widow with smurf blue hair and coprolalia. Why the whole week? Fuck Jesus fucking whore, fuck! She will ask, and you will coolly reply that whole wheat is preferable. Her profane outbursts, a somewhat rare symptom of Tourette's, ensure the characterful little restaurant is always busy. People love to be entertained. You'd never have set foot in Marzipan's Kitchen if Mom hadn't died and you'd continued breakfasting at Cadillac Jack's. Mom's death came with many silver linings, which shouldn't surprise you at all given her glimmering and selfless nature. The quirk of Marzipan's Kitchen is one, Sally is another. She's the new waitress. Yin-yang earrings, beads in her hair, an adorable belly accentuating the front of her t-shirt, the female form at her loveliest. The first thing she says to you, utterly unwaitress-like, is, "You look good with long hair. You have perfect face shape, beautiful, beautiful cheekbones. Also, rather whole wheat bagels." "Read the bagels," you reply with the slightest of smiles. "Don't sweat it. I was considering an English muffin. Read the hair? My eyelashes are too long. I'd look like a Las Vegas lion tamer." "Maybe dreadlocks," she ventures. "It's a consideration, you say." One other thing about Marzipan's Kitchen, real sweet. For those dining alone, Marzipan will often bring out a mannequin and sit it across the table for you. Conversation is encouraged, and sometimes, if Marzipan is in a good mood, the mannequin will foot the bill. It's quite common to see diners getting into the zany spirit of things, discussing a cornucopia of topics with their fiberglass friends. Nobody blinks an eye either. Marzipan's is liberating like that. It's good for the soul as well as the belly. "Is this your girlfriend?" Sally asks. Your mannequin has cracked blue eyes and sultry lips. She wears a paisley headscarf and has 2 left hands. "It's my sister," you say. "We were just discussing Britain's appointment of the first female poet laureate." "I don't have a girlfriend." Sally slides into the booth, bumping your mannequin across the seat. She tilts stiffly, head resting against the wall. "I listened to you play yesterday at Green River Park. Color has bloomed in Sally's cheeks, as red as the checks in the tablecloth. You were playing to the birds. I wanted to hug you." Sometimes they sing along, you say, and there's a quaver to your voice, your heart is tripping. It's better than money. "I'm new in town," Sally says. She licks her lips. "I don't know many people. Do you know what you're having?" "I've lived here all my life," you reply. I don't know many people either. I'll take the American cheese omelet." "Did I mention the bagel situation?" You want to kiss her right there, right then. You eat at Marzipan's Kitchen more frequently, 3-4 times a week, until you finally pluck up the courage to ask Sally on a date. Even then, you can't really do it. You say, "I don't have a car," in the most arbitrary manner, and she knows what you're trying to say, and she says, "That's okay, I have a bicycle." And your voice quavers again, "Where should we go?" And she says, "As far as I can pedal." That evening, she screeches to a halt outside your apartment on a baby blue Schwinn, bubbly wine and a punnet of strawberries in the basket. You climb on behind her with your guitar strapped to your back, and she pedals the buttermilk falls. You drink the wine and get giggly. You eat the strawberries and get sticky. "Pretend I'm a bird," she says. You play, she sings. The waterfall turns from white to pink in the setting sun. "I have something for you," she says. "Shh, don't tell Marzipan." And she takes from the pocket of her skirt a long chestnut-colored wig. "It belonged to your sister. Try it on." You smile and tug the wig onto your head. Sally helps straighten it. her face alive and as full of color as the waterfall. She brushes errant strands from your face, tucks them behind your ears. I was right, she says. Lion tamer, you say? You're beautiful, she says. Her lips glisten, moist with strawberry juice and wine, and you want to kiss it all away. Instead, you run a hand through your chestnut hair, pick up your guitar, and play Van Morrison's Someone Like You. The birds settle around you. There we go. Just a little taster.
It's such a lovely and tender and romantic moment, and really not like the rest of the book at all, which opens with this, you know, this his Rio's romantic lead, his busker Harvey being beaten within an inch of his life. You know, I mean, his teeth are flying, and you know, his eyeballs are just about popping out of his head as a bunch of guys work him over for information about the girl. About Sally, who at that point he doesn't have any memory of. She has surgically lifted all his memories of her out of his head, and it's an absolutely, it's an absolutely brutal beginning, which I love. That's the kind of thing I enjoy. And
I think it's important as well to sort of set the pace early on in the book. You know, I've read many books where it takes a while to warm up, and I don't know, I like a slow burn too, but I'm also a great believer in reaching out, grabbing the reader by the throat and pulling them in. Getting them as quickly as you can. You don't want to risk hanging around too long.
Yeah, I always think sometimes TV guys will say that they're writing something that's a slow burn. You know, and I always think that what they really are saying is, I'm writing something so people will know to change the channel, to a different show. Right. So, you really can't. But I almost feel like we're jumping ahead. So who are you and how did you get here? I think that would be sort of the first question that I'd want to, that I think people would want to know the answer to.
Well, when you said earlier that was the question you were going to open with, I thought you were joking.
No.
Who are you exactly?
Who are you and how did you
Why are you here?
Because it's kind of weird, I mean, you've got this, amazing supernatural thriller. The pages fly. It's a really arresting read. It's got 2-star reviews right out of the gates. Tremendous feedback from everyone who's read it. So this is your absolute first novel. There was no work before this, and you're pretty much an overnight sensation. I
just woke up one morning and thought, I'm going to write a book, and I did, and there it is. First time published straight away. No, that's not true at all. It was a novella called Ellie's Boy that a very small press in my hometown published, and they published that back in 1999. But the whole thing was a very bad experience. The publisher was totally crooked. Didn't pay me. Didn't pay the printers. And I actually had the printers calling me up saying, do you know where the guy is? And I'm like, what? It's nothing to do with me.
That actually inspired the first scene in The Forgotten Girl, where the young hero is being beaten within an inch of his life for information. It was actually based on his experiences, early publication.
That was my first foray into the wonderful world of publishing. And when I started, I was 16, I was ambitious. But I really, obviously, at 16, I wasn't very good. I hadn't really developed my craft at all at that point. But I had so much heart, so much ambition, and that carries on to this day. That hasn't died at all. It's the reason I'm still doing it. And gradually, I guess aged about 20, 21, it's not that I stopped writing. I just found other things. I discovered, hanging out with my buddies, and I joined a band, and I started to hang out with girls and doing all the things that perhaps I should have done when every other kid was doing at 16 and 17. While I was at home writing books, that's what they were doing, and then I kind of came to that later on.
So you said while I was at home writing books, were there teenage books?
Yeah.
Like, did you complete whole books when you're? Because
I wrote 5 novels before I was 21.
God bless you.
Yeah, I did. I just hammered it, just kept going. And back then there was no self-publishing. There were no vanity presses. You were either good enough to get published or you weren't. So there was no fallback. Thank God.
Right. Well, isn't that good luck? Because you would have self-published and go, oh, this is going right on Kindle. Boom!
And it's
it's something unreadable. Right. Then it's like herpes. Like, you can't be, there's no cure. You're going to drag that shit around forever.
Exactly. I am so grateful. Like all of my shit, thankfully, is in a box in my mum's attic, and I'm very tempted because I'm just afraid that like maybe one day I'll break out big, and that somebody will just break into my mum's attic to get them all. So I'm actually tempted to burn down my mum's house just so no one can get to those stories. It's a bit harsh. Maybe I'll tell mum first.
So what was the first book you wrote when you were a teenager? I think this really matters because like I wrote a book when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I wrote a couple things and I want to know if it was as good as the stuff I was working on.
The first book I wrote when I was a teenager, 16 years old, it was called Dragon Skull. And it was Skull, S-K-U-L-L-E. One word, Dragon Skull.
That's pretty metal.
It was a fancy. There were barbarians, there were dragons, and it was I just ripped off the talisman. That's basically what I did. It was about this kid who ventured to another world to save his mom who was dying of cancer. It was the talisman! But not as good. No, it was. There were a lot of differences. That was the basic premise though. Didn't get published, surprisingly. And then the second book I wrote, which I actually always kind of want to revisit, was still 16. It was called Belief. And that was about a group of kids who were terrorized by a creature when they were kids, and then as adults they go back to fight it again. What do you say?
I think there's some ideas there. That's good.
No.
Wait, what year was that?
No, it was about a group of kids who were terrorized by a monster in their hometown, but they don't revisit anything. It's very generic horror stuff, you know.
Yeah, that's usual.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote a book when I was about 14, 15 that was about the lunch ladies in the cafeteria being secret devil worshippers and feeding up kids. Kids were disappearing from school and then everyone was eating them. And it was called Midnight Eats.
Right.
And it was novel length, and the amazing thing was that I wrote it in about 18 days. So it was a real work of polished craft. It was like,
Yeah.
But, so I know you're a Londoner by birth and a Canadian by choice.
Yeah.
And you wrote all these books, and then you sort of drifted away, but you didn't drift away from the arts. You just, instead of being a writer, you yourself were a busker like the character in the story. You did music, and you did, and you were playing for money in the guitar case.
Yeah, I mean, basically, and around the time I sort of took a step back from writing a little bit, I discovered guitar. And I'm not a very good guitar player.
That's bullshit. He's actually a really good guitar player. I've heard him. Solid.
I beg to differ, but because I know when I see a real guitarist do their thing, I'm blown away, and oh my god, I'd love to be that good. I just jam around a little bit, and it's fun. And yeah, I was in bands, and we play on street corners, and I'd go out on my own and just jam for a little while on the street. Never made much money, but it wasn't for that. It was just to play because I just love to play music. And that was fun, yeah.
So The Forgotten Girl is not your first published book. In some ways, there are different circuits in publishing. There's sort of big press publishing, and there's the world of small presses. I came out of the small presses. I know what that landscape is like, and you've been kind of a star of the small press circuit for a decade. Mm-hmm. There's been talk about the Forgotten Girl. For most people who discover the Forgotten Girl, this is going to be a debut novel, and it's kind of an illusion. It's not true. There's been all this. If you look in the front, you can see all these other books, Westlake Soul, and so you've had these experiences building up to a release where there's a bookend, in bookstores everywhere. So talk about the other books. Talk about the process of building up to a first mainstream press publication.
Well, at the time, the books you write, you want it to land with a big publisher. You don't really sort of elect to go the small press route unless you kind of have to when bigger publishers reject your book. I mean, I've had so many rejections. I think rejections are important. Like, that's the piece of advice I give to all writers when they ask for my advice is, get some rejections behind you, because that's how you learn. That's how you get better. You don't really learn anything by putting your book straight up on Amazon. You know, you've got to get your rejections. Aim high. So I always did with those books, except for Westlake Soul. I promised that one to this small press in Canada. I promised that one to Cheesy. But I think the small presses are important.
Who published? Cheesy?
Yeah.
Cheesy published Westlake Soul?
Yeah.
Give the plot of Westlake Soul.
So Westlake Soul it's about a former surfing champion. His name's Westlake Soul, and he goes into a permanent vegetative state. So he has no response to stimuli. He can't hear. He can hear, sorry, but he can't talk. He can't articulate himself. He can't walk. He's essentially a vegetable. He's in a permanent vegetative state. But on the inside, he's developed the mind of a super genius. So he knows all the answers to all the questions. He can talk to his dog. He has long conversations with his dog. He can read minds. He can astral project. He can sort of float around the moon. He's just this incredible super genius, but he can't articulate any of that. And it's basically his musings from this bed. And at some point in the book, his parents decide that they're going to discontinue his life support. And now he has to use his super genius to find a way out of this permanent vegetative state, because now there's a clock ticking.
And Westlake Soul is being adapted for the films?
Yeah, it looks like it might happen too. There's a Canadian film company called Hungry Eyes Media who expressed an interest, and they're developing the script right now. And you know, the good thing about like a Canadian company doing it as opposed to sort of a Hollywood company doing it is it's you kind of feel that it's all financed in different ways. The Canadian movie companies get financed through art councils and government funding. They don't depend on, you know, Johnny Big Pockets, you know, in Hollywood. And so I got a feeling it's going to happen. I don't know, in touch wood, you know, I'm not sure, but I think it's going to happen. I think it'd make a hell of a movie, I really do.
So you're not, The Forgotten Girl is set in the South, largely in the South, or it banks in New Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah.
But then it drifts down south, and sort of covers a lot of American territory.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And the book has a real rock and roll heart, and it has a lot of sort of almost, you know, neon bright American iconography. It's got the Elvis impersonator, which I remember. You know, you've got your rock and roll, your classic rock and roll diner at the beginning, and it has a lot of almost garish American types. And I wonder if it isn't easier to see America more clearly if you're not from here. So I wonder, you know, what was it like the first time you came to America, and how did that influence you as an artist?
Well,
when did you come here?
I first came over to America in 1990.
How old were you then?
19.
Because I can't do math. 1990, you were what?
19.
19.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the reason I came over to America is because I love this country. I love Americans, I love the culture, I love the sport. I grew up in a crappy little English town. You know, for many years I worked in a factory, and I was listening to Springsteen on my headset and just dreaming of this, you know, I saw it as like the promised land, right?
Yeah.
This glorified version of America that existed in my head. And, you know, growing up I was a big Elvis fan, and everything I read and all the comic books I read, everything seemed to be American. I just thought for sure this is the greatest country in the world. And I still, despite everything, I still truly believe it's the greatest country in the world. I know, you'll be alright soon. But yeah, I don't want to get...
Well, The Forgotten Girl does have one not so good element in it. There's a character, a villainous character, who is a narcissistic politician, who has really almost like no conscience whatsoever and lies effortlessly, and it seems like nothing will stop this guy's rise to power. I found that completely unbelievable. I don't really see, you know, I felt like that showed your lack of understanding about America. Most sharp that people would not support someone like that.
There's this flagrant narcissist who basically wants to be president and will stop at nothing, you know.
Right. And totally unqualified, and not the right man for the job.
And I knew I was stretching it a little bit with that character, but you know, it's a story. It's just a story. You can close it at any time, right? It's just
Does he have a big brain?
exactly.
He has the biggest brain. Actually, he does sort of have a frighteningly big brain in that way, you know.
Well, he has
Because he has psychic control. People love him because he wants to be loved.
That's the thing. He does have much like Sally, he does have a psychic ability whereby he can manipulate people into his way of thinking.
There are some great fucked up psychics in this book. There's some great, really twisted, as for a supernatural thriller, Rio does some amazing, exciting new things with the idea of psychic powers. There's a character named, it's Steve-O, right?
Steve-O,
Steve-O, who can control people's biometrics so he can make your heart speed up to your heart bursts,
Yeah.
And I love him, and he's kind of this scrunchy, trashy trailer park dude with like 7 teeth.
Yeah.
And, and he's really, but he's great. He's great. And Sally's mom has mind control. The spider, there's this character, the spider, the politician, who can crawl through your mind, and the description of that is especially abhorrent. It's real skin crawler. Reading it, I was often started thinking of Cronenberg films, especially stuff like Scanners.
Yeah.
The whole book has a kind of feel. I don't know if there's a lot of Cronenberg fans, or if you guys but it has that kind of feel. And I guess I was wondering, and also the book is very cinematic. There's the pedal to the metal all the way through. Great action set pieces, great psychic battles. So I wonder how much, what were your sort of key influences for something like this, I mean, were you thinking about, stuff like Videodrome, or were you drawing sort of more from, what's your reading and film, what's your reading and viewing list for people who are stoked for this kind of fiction? What led to this?
I would definitely use Scanners as a reference. I mean, I at some point during the writing of Forgotten Girl, I like the idea of these psychics being troubled people. That you so often in film and in books, psychics are sort of portrayed as being all powerful, and I like the idea in my book that a lot of them are troubled. They hear these voices in their heads. They don't want to show. They're fighting with, can I express my power? How do I hide it? And so they become very much shut away from society, very insular people, and that was definitely explored in I didn't realize in David Cronenberg's Scanners, where a lot of them were sort of homeless people and hadn't really.
They're all kind of a little broken.
Yeah, broken. Yeah, exactly. And that's definitely a theme in this book. So Scanners, I would say. Also, the Firestarter.
Yeah, Firestarter for sure.
Just the idea of this corporation hunting down this girl. She's obviously in Firestarter. She's on the run with her dad, and in this book, it's Harvey after he finds her. They're on the run together. And other than that, just a lot of music, man. Just a lot of music to get me right in the vibe for it.
Right.
Just to give you that feeling.
There is. Well, there's a couple things I want to say. Aside from the psychics, there are a lot of really fascinatingly broken people in the story, and it almost seems like what's wrecked them is America. Harvey's father is, there's this great relationship between Harvey and his father, who is this withdrawn Vietnam vet who believes every conspiracy theory he's ever read on the internet.
Yeah.
And I also like that they sort of communicate over old records. I remember that, and there is some stuff right in the beginning. There is some stuff about the rock and roll diner and rock and roll being in there throughout the book. So what's the soundtrack for the book besides the obvious, which would be Oasis?
Yeah, right.
Being sort of the pinnacle of rock and roll.
I listen to every book I write, I find myself gravitating towards maybe 5 or 6 songs. So there's kind of a built-in soundtrack to every book I've written. With Westlake Soul, and not necessarily songs I would listen to today, but they just seem to chime with that book. And with Westlake Soul, it was Kate Bush's. I can't remember the name of the song now.
Running Up That Hill?
No, This Woman's Work. That's it. Just a beautiful, beautiful song. And every time I listen to it, it just put me in the headspace of Westlake Soul. Landslide by Fleetwood Mac was another song on that list. There's a great band called Eels, great American band.
The Eels.
And there's a song called Hey Now You're Really Living, which was the theme tune to Westlake Soul. But for the Forgotten Girl, I would say the song I listened to, Flamin' Lips, got a song called Fight Test, and that really chimed with the book. But bizarrely, the one song that really chimed was a cover version of an old Philadelphia music instrumental called TSOP, The Sound of Philadelphia. And it's done by this really obscure British band called Dexy's Midnight Runners.
Oh my God.
And you would never, who had a hit song, I think he had like maybe 2 hit songs.
Eileen, Come On Eileen.
Oh, yeah. And the B-side to Come On Eileen is this cover version of TSOP. It's the most bizarre thing, and I heard it, and as soon as I heard it, like the whole book just in my head. I got Harvey's character, I got the feel of the book, because it's an upbeat vibe, right? There's a lot of bad shit that happens in this book, but Harvey's basically an upbeat guy, and so it just really flavored the book. Yeah, it was Woman as well by John Lennon. There's a scene in the book where he goes to visit his mum's grave. His mum was the pinnacle of his life. She was the shining light, and he had to watch her die of cancer when he was 16, and it broke him. He doesn't really have a great relationship with his dad, but his relationship with his mom, and he's been trying to fix that with his dad. But when she died, it broke him. And one of the reasons he goes after Sally is because, he comes to realize that although she removed her memories, his memories of her, she couldn't remove his emotions. Love is deeper than memory, and he still felt something for her. And he had to watch his mom die, and he didn't want to not do anything about this. He couldn't live with himself knowing that somebody else he loved was in great peril, especially when he could do something about it, or potentially do something about it. And there's a scene in the book where he goes to visit his mom's grave, and he takes his guitar, and Woman by John Lennon was his mum's favorite song, and he just plays it. And there's a line in the book, it's something like, John Lennon wrote this song for Yoko Ono, but it works for mums too. And it's true. It's really true. You see, you start thinking about, your mom and stuff like that. And I'm a mum's boy, definitely. Never was really a dad. My dad died a month or so ago, I guess. Nothing. Yeah, he didn't really fill a part of my life, so when he died, there wasn't really a hole left behind. But if my mom were to die, which I'm sure she will one day, then that's then I'm going to take my guitar to her grave and I'm going to sing "Woman" by John Lennon.
What did your dad think about your book coming out with the big press? Did you talk to him about it at all?
A little bit, but he was a blue collar guy. Definitely believed in getting your hands dirty, and that was how you that was how you earned your money. In terms of my writing, what he used to say is, "Get your head out of the clouds, boy," and that was his advice. The only time he ever he showed any interest was when Westlake Soul was first optioned. It was optioned by a Hollywood producer first of all, and he actually perked up a little bit then. And he read Westlake Soul. He visited us last year, and he read Westlake Soul, and for the first time ever, after he finished it, he said, "I'm proud of you."
Oh, that's really awesome.
And then he died.
I want to give people.
That killed it.
Yeah.
The dead mom thing was great. Don't run with that.
Yeah.
I want to give people a chance to ask questions, but I did want to, because we were talking about it, we didn't quite finish what we were talking about. There are a lot of intersecting plot lines in The Forgotten Girl, and they all pay off. It's one thing to tell one story and have it pay off, but it's another thing to have 3 or 4 plates in the air and not drop any of them. And you were talking about how when John Irving writes a book, he researches for years, and then he sort of meticulously plots out what every chapter is going to be before he writes. He knows everything about how it's going to, You don't write that way. You don't outline. What is that process like?
It's terrifying for the most part. You sit down, and I really don't know too much about what's going to happen within the book.
What did you know when you sat down?
When I sat down to write The Forgotten Girl?
Yeah. Did you even know it was going to be a novel?
Yes, it had to be a novel because St. Martin's Press had already bought it.
Okay.
It
Right, so the
had to
pressure
be
was
a novel.
on.
Yeah, some massive pressure. I knew that I basically knew that Harvey had had his memories of this girl erased and that he had to find her. And that was it. The pitch I gave to my then editor, Jamie Levine, wonderful editor at St. Martin's Press, was basically that. And I think I said, imagine if Tarantino had directed Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And that was all she needed.
That's actually the perfect elevator pitch for this book. Is imagine if Quentin Tarantino had directed Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That's right.
And the rest of the stuff filled it. You know, as we discussed ideas, more things came up. But I'd already started the book at that point, and I knew it was going to start with him getting beaten up. So I don't. I guess I don't know why I don't really outline. It's just not my process, and I think it's because I write because I like the escapism of writing. I like the freedom it gives you. And to write to a plot line or to a strict outline, to me feels like you're clipping your wings a little bit. Like you have to write within, you have to follow this very
You're on rails.
Yeah, you're on rails and you've got to follow that. And to me, I like to veer left and right, you know, and see where that path takes you. And I don't know, it's a more, it comes down to this, right? If I don't know what's going to happen, then hopefully the reader doesn't know what's going to happen. So that's the way I do it, I guess.
Any questions?
I have a
Yes.
question. So, first of all, thank you for reading out loud. You hold on, it's not perfect. Like an idiot. You read out loud very well.
Thank you.
The first part is you may have explained this in the beginning, but the second person point of view, is that throughout the whole book, or is that?
Oh no, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, they're moments. So Harvey later on in the book discovers this journal, and the narrative is interspersed with these moments. These.
See, he doesn't. So I read the book. It's been almost 18 months since I read the book.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling a few things back from, but so she's removed all memory of the life they had together.
Yeah.
When he discovers the journal, he uses the journal. That's what convinces him there really was this girl in his life.
Is this
And-
his journal?
Yeah, it's his journal. He kept it while they were together.
The whole book isn't
Okay.
his journal.
Oh yeah, the whole book is not his journal. It's just
No, but I mean
excerpts.
in the second,
The notes, the moments.
The notes,
Yeah.
the memories of what you call the moments.
Moments.
Yeah, this is his journal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Written in
I
the
just-
weirdly in the second person.
So he finds
Yeah.
this
Wrote notes to
journal
himself about her.
and he goes out looking for it.
Yeah. His first clue is that he still feels something for this girl because, like I said, love is deeper than memory. And then when he finds this journal,
He has
he begins to
concrete proof that that they had this life together.
Okay,
and so he can figure out where she's gone, and that's when he goes out to look for her.
would it be a spoiler if we were to say why she erased his memories?
No,
Not really. No, she's obviously lives a very dangerous life.
she's on the run.
She's trying
And
to
the
protect him.
guys who are looking for her have found out where she is.
Okay.
And so in order to protect Harvey, she erases herself from his existence and goes off. So that's that. And you had the second part.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Did I?
No, it's
Sorry.
not you. It was actually Joe.
And did I answer? Did I answer?
The other part was, I just think it's such an anomaly to write in the second person, and I'm just sort of racking my brain trying to think of anything I've read written in the second person. There probably are examples, but what was your inspiration for that part of it? I mean, I really haven't seen that done. I can think of it. Probably
Ramsey Campbell's home.
Say again?
Ramsey Campbell's heading home.
Is that in second person?
Yeah.
Is that the one? No. Okay,
Less Than Zero was written in second person. Yeah, that was
Didn't read that,
but this is a better book than Less Than Zero, by quite substantially better book than Less Than Zero.
I don't really know why I chose it. I mean, I think I had a reason at the time, but the honest answer is I can't remember what that reason
Someone
was.
stole your memory.
Sorry, Greg?
Someone stole your memory.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
See, but I thought it was and again, the book is not written in second person. This is
Right,
only
this is
excerpts from his
such-
diary.
Very
But-
little, yeah.
But actually, when I you know, when I've kept a journal, a lot of times I find myself writing you. Like I'm writing to myself.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, like instead of I, it's you. So I actually found that very natural.
Right, that's good.
And I know me and Rio talk about rock and roll a lot, and I know he's reading the Bruce Springsteen memoir right now. And I get the impression that Bruce Springsteen also does that quite a bit. But a lot of times when he's writing to himself, he actually writes you.
Right,
I don't know why that is.
It does seem quite natural when you think about it.
Yeah.
You know, but I did like the idea of the fact that it definitely distanced Harvey from the emotion and attached more to the memory. You know, this is what you did. It's not really this is what you're feeling. It's this is what you did. So yeah. It was challenging to write in the second person.
Imagine. I'm thinking about doing it now.
Very
I mean, I
challenging.
do it in journals, but just
Yeah.
have someone else read it.
No, I can't do it.
Be odd.
Yeah.
I would think.
That's good. I think it works.
Oh, that's
It's
Reservoir.
Reservoir Dogs.
I love that movie. It's so good. Quentin
How
Tarantino, another
influenced
world.
by Tarantino do you think you are?
I'm a big Tarantino fan, but I wouldn't say he influences my
Would you like
work
to,
really.
would you like to like jump around?
Like House of Pain.
No, like you
Like
mean
Reservoir
you mean
Dogs,
like
like
in
starts
time,
at the end.
like breaking the time structure.
Yeah.
Do you like to fiddle around with?
No, not really. I don't think it.
I was about to say the Forgotten Girl kind of plows straight ahead, but actually, no, it does jump around in time,
Yeah.
going back to the relationship, jumping forward again.
Yeah, there are a couple of jumps, but not in the Tarantino way. Not in that kind of everything kind of weirdly. Yeah, that's a neat trick if you can pull that off in fiction.
Yeah,
I think it's easier on film. Yeah.
You can do it, Joe.
Joke. Do it.
No, I don't know. I think I like to it's just, I'm too lazy. You know, I just like to start at the beginning and end at the end.
And even
Anything else
with
doesn't work.
and Joe will back this up, I'm sure. Even with books that you start at the beginning, like timelines and dates and everything like that. You know, you were talking earlier about the Fireman.
Oh, when we were talking over dinner, and you know, I was saying my nightmare for the Fireman is it's about this woman over the course of her pregnancy, and I was convinced that it would get, you know, just be about to be published, and one of the early readers would say, "Why is she pregnant for 11 months?" You know, and I'm like, "No," it kept me up. I must have counted, you know, a dozen times.
You spin a lot of plates when you write a book or any type of fiction, and you don't really want to complicate things too much by switching back and forth, and you know.
I got a question for you. What would you like your Wikipedia entry to look like in 30 years?
Still alive? Yeah.
That'd be nice. Tragically died after his first mainstream release. That would not be so cool.
Yeah.
gotta
Run over
buy
by
a
1,000 bikes.
But so what would your so this is I mean, it's weird to think about. So he's been one of the reasons I have a particular affection for Rio is because we both began in the same place, which is PS Publishing.
Yep.
I got turned down by a million big presses, you know, over and over again, and the first people to take a chance on me was a small press, PS Publishing. Peter Crowther was also one of the first people to take a chance on Rio.
Yeah. That was my first. PS was my first proper book deal, I guess. You know, with by which I mean I got paid,
I got paid.
and they published it properly.
Rio worked early with an editor. This is sort of inside baseball, but he worked with an editor named Jamie Levine. Jamie Levine was the first person to read my book Heart-Shaped Box and tell me that she really liked it. You know, it was the first. Ultimately, I didn't wind up going with Jamie's. You know, Jamie was with Warner Brother Books at the time, but you know, I've known Jamie Levine ever since, and so Rio and me have sort of had this weird overlap. But I guess what I'm curious about is, in some ways, this is like the start of your career.
Yeah.
Even though you've already had a 10-year career writing. Yeah. So 10 years from now, what would you like to look back? What would you like what would you like to see you have done?
Honestly, right now I just would like to stay published. I would like to not have any difficulty selling books moving forward. I don't really want to take any backward steps at this point. I want to keep moving forward. I'd love to have a New York Times bestseller. That would be awesome. Yes, and just have people who read and enjoy my work. But
so just books? Have you know, what about comics or TV, screenwriting, or just books?
I tell you something, I wrote a comic for IDW Publishing. Again, talk about lines.
Yeah.
When Joe's Lock and Key was with IDW. and it was it was a 12-page zombies versus robot comic, and based on this universe.
That's the actual title. Zombie versus robots.
Chris Ryle's,
Yeah.
Chris Ryle's the creator of it. Him and Ashley Wood, they do it together. It's a zany, crazy, hell of a wild ride. Great comic. But I did this 12-page comic for him, and it was the most fun I've ever had writing anything. And they pay you really well in comics too. So it was like a bonus on top. And ever since then, I've been trying to get back into comics. I keep emailing Chris, dude, have you got anything else for me? And I came this close to getting the X-Files comic, and Jason Chiramella.
There's a great writer here, great comic book writer, Jason Chiramella, who wrote The Cape and Thumbprint and a bunch of other titles and stuff.
And Jason was this close to getting the X-Files too. And then another carrot was dangled in front of me, which would have meant basically working with Joe's dad, which would have been pretty awesome, but that never happened.
I just want to say about the X-Files, you ever see footage of, like, there's a bike race going outside, you ever seen the footage, the clip of the two bikers who are about to cross the finish line, and they crash into each other, and they both wipe out, and then this dude who's like a half mile down the road bikes past them and like looks at their bodies on the ground and then bikes across the finish line? It's just heartbreaking. That's actually footage of Rio and Jason taking each other out, and then this third guy bikes by him and took the X-Files away from him, and
So yeah, I've had a couple of near misses with comics, but I'm still hopeful something will happen there. And film, yeah, I definitely, if someone would come to me to adapt something of mine, I'd be up for that. I'd love to do that. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Very cool. Would you want to adapt something yourself? If tomorrow Forgotten Girl was optioned for a film, would you want to write the script?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, damn right. Yeah.
But then we'd all have to wait even longer for another novel. That doesn't sound so cool.
Yeah, and
What about us?
Yeah.
What about Arnie?
You're so selfish.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I've just handed in the second book. It's not related to Forgotten Girl. It's a standalone novel to my publisher Halcyon. So there is another book coming in 1 year, provided he likes it. So
That's
nobody's
awesome.
read the book yet. I'm terrified he's going to send it back and go, try again, Rio.
Anyone else?
Tom, you're looking at me like you got a question. Just ask. Are you sure? Are you sure? Do you want me to ask you a question? Sure. How did you feel when you won the Bram Stoker Award?
Amazing. Thank you.
Congratulations. I actually blurbed that book. It's called Haven. It's a great New England horror story, and I read one of the early versions and I blurbed it, and they went on to win the Bram Stoker Award. So there's that. Well done, buddy. Good work.
There's a bunch of great writers lurking in the back. There's Jim Moore, there's Doug Wynn.
Yeah, it is.
But actually, I just that's the fact that there's a bunch of writers in the back of the room actually kind of tells you something secret about Rio, which is that there are all of these writers who have been watching Rio for years and who know he's really good, and everyone wants to be able to say, I knew him when. You know, because this is a really hot novel. I mean, it's just an electrifying read.